some of the board members' decision-making process and the way they're conducting themselves over the last 18 months, I find myself wondering if they sold their soul to the devil.
Tyler Burgett, Lisa Cavelli, Brian Cairns, and Matthew Hoopman.
Tyler Burgett. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I've lived here in Seminole County for 16 years. Board members, Fair Superintendent, thank you for having me here today. I do believe we're all here because we truly care about our kids, and for that, I thank everyone here. I'm here this morning to represent the belief that it is the right of Seminole County families to decide for themselves, each of them, whether or not their children will wear a mask at school. I do believe that all mask recommendations should maintain an opt-out option. I'm thankful for all the safety measures that so many families are taking to keep their children safe. I'm thankful that we have so many resources to draw from in providing these safe environments for our kids. It was mentioned today in the presentation, the Swiss cheese method, where we can, add different safety measures to or decrease the risk of spread. It was also mentioned that we are much more lax on some of our safety measures from last year. I have strong concern that we are becoming more lax on some of these other safety measures that can be had in our environments, but we're jumping straight to covering our children's faces, which is obviously, or I would say clearly from the feedback we've received, that's an emotional topic for many of us. And, there are studies that show both, I think, efficacy of masks, but also concerns of wearing masks as well. Just like most things in this world, there's so much gray area, and it does get messy with the pros and cons of different approaches. I think it's very important that we take a look at all these many safety measures before covering our children's faces, mandating that there not be an option for, I think it was 17% that currently have chosen that option to not have their kids cover their faces. I think we do need to protect that 17%, that minority that is that has decided that while implementing other safety measures, and I'm sure we're all teaching our kids safety measures to bring with them to school and at home and with their friends. And I think it's so vital that we protect these rights of our families. I do find it very concerning. Seminole County Facebook page shared a picture, yesterday, and not social distancing, no masks. A couple individuals here were present, and I understand. I don't see there being an issue with that photo personally, but if people were complaining, and the Facebook page responded and said, well, for the most part, we were, up until this photo, we were social distance and wearing masks, but you were using your discernment, and I'm personally okay with that, but then removing...
Your time is up.
Okay, thank you. But then removing discernment from us, I think that's hypocrisy, and I think that's dangerous.
Lisa Cavelli, are you here? You're up. Oh, she left. Thank you. Brian Cairns. Matthew Hoopman.
Thank you. My name's Matthew Hoopman. I'll get my notes up. As a resident of Seminole County and a parent of a child attending Seminole County schools, I'm here to express my deep concern. To be clear, I'm against mandating children to wear a mask. I'm sure you, like everyone else here, has heard the various sides, evidence, and science. I'll try not to rehash it. I'm sure you've heard, and I've heard this twice so far today, if it saves but one life, it's an emotional argument. I would simply like to ask, is it worth the price? Is it worth the price? Sorry. Is it worth it if the price is losing 3 lives? I'm often confronted by one of 2 responses when I give that answer. First being denial, that it's actually happening. It has happened, and it is happening. I have several friends, family, and acquaintances get COVID. Of those 15 or so, only 3 have been hospitalized, and none have died. Compare that against the 3 that have died. In Seminole County, not Orange County, not in Florida, not in California, Seminole County, due to the lockdowns and the mask, people, children are losing the battle against mental illness and depression because as a society, we have wiped out their support systems of human contact, isolated them with lockdowns, and cut them off from emotional expression by covering their faces, as you heard in the earlier nurse's explanation of her child. You may think that's an exaggeration. I'm sorry. Another friend, okay, here we go. You may think that's an exaggeration, but over the summer, 3 friends were lost. My daughter's horse riding friend, my apologies. Her father came home to discover his 12-year-old daughter in the backyard hung herself from the swing set. Another one of my daughter's friends lost both parents from suicide. The number would be 4 from yet another family. Fortunately, the child failed in their suicide attempt. This is as real as it gets. The second response, usually after dealing with the deniers, is there aren't as many cases compared to COVID. So now the debate turns from emotional plea and cold hard percentages, statistics, and science.
Mr. Hoopman, your time is up.
Okay. I'll simply conclude by pointing out, I have references here to 47 that show masks don't work, 32 studies that show it's harmful. We have the UK, their department, their CDC, that has changed their mask mandates in schools because of what I have just discussed. Mm-hmm. They have changed it, they've rolled it back, not only to remove the mask mandates from the children, but also the staff and the teachers.
Thank you. Debbie Smith, are you still here? Michael Benfonti. Good afternoon.
My name is Michael Benfonti. I'm the father of 3 boys. 2 of them are in this system. I had a lot to say. A lot of these fine people and parents have covered a lot of what I wanted to say, but I do want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak and to voice our opinions. We are all here because we have the best interest of our children in mind. And, there's study after study, after peer-reviewed study, that show that masks don't work. And I'm sure you can find some studies. I don't think there are peer-reviewed studies that show that masks do work. But study after study will show that masks do not work. And I want to bounce out what this gentleman just said. Wearing face masks has been demonstrated to have substantial adverse psychological and physiological effects. These include hypoxia, shortness of breath, increased acidity, toxicity, activation of fear and stress responses, rise in stress hormones, immunosuppression, fatigue, headaches, decline in cognitive performance, predisposition for viral and infectious diseases, chronic illness, anxiety, and depression. Now, if we're here for the well-being of our children, and that was from Stanford, that's not my opinion, and that's backed up by many, many other scientists and doctors who are deprived the ability to state that because they're deplatformed, taken offline, canceled. So those things are real. And it doesn't take much common sense to understand that it's true. By covering our faces, all these things, in addition to just removing our humanity. If we're here today for the health and well-being of our children, then I'm not in for this opt-out business. I say no masks whatsoever for anyone, because if you want to follow the science, if we want the health and well-being of our children, not just the physical well-being, emotional, the developmental well-being, then I say no masks whatsoever, and I will not allow my children to mask up ever again. You know, I think about the first presentation, they talked about the R0 value. R0 of 7 or 5 or whatever. I'm going to infect 5 people. Well, we are not going to allow any elected officials to affect the well-being of our children. We are not going to stand by idle anymore. We are not going to sit on our hands anymore. And this is evidenced by what we see here.
Your time is up. Thank you. Zizi Lesciutto. Nancy Lloyd. Good afternoon.
Hi, my name is Zizi Lesciutto, and I'm here to defend my children from unconstitutional, unethical, and ineffective forced masking. First of all, thank you so much for allowing us to speak today. I know it's been a long day, and being that we've had so many people speak, a lot of what I was planning to say has already been said, so I'll just make it quick. But forcing our children to cover half their faces 7 hours a day, 5 days a week is insanity. Forcing our children to abide by measures that restrict their ability to move freely throughout society and without discrimination is unconstitutional, according to the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Forcing our children to wear masks that have become dingy, wet, dirty due to playtime, sneezing, tying their shoes and then touching their masks, masks falling to the ground and being replaced back on their faces is gross and just wrong. Forcing our children to endure headaches, taking trouble reading, focusing, sore throats, mask rash, just so adults can feel safe is absolutely unethical. Paper and cloth masks flat out don't work. A paper mask filtration capacity is between 2 to 10 microns, where an N95 mask filtration capacity is 0.3. Coronavirus is 0.12 microns in diameter, and that's like throwing a hot dog down a hallway. Cloth masks filter less than that. We don't even need to get into that. COVID has more than a 99% survival rate. It was just mentioned earlier that 4.2 million children tested positive for COVID, and of that, 0.008 died, according to the CDC, your beloved CDC. 480 children died of the flu in the 2018-2019 flu season. So more children died in that one flu season than a year and a half of COVID. and not one doctor, scientist, newscaster, or celebrity insisted that we force masks on our children. We do not consent to this tyranny against our families and our children. We will not send our children back to school in masks, and we will not have you strip them of their constitutional rights, their human rights, or their God-given rights. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Nancy Lloyd, Greg Guter, Margaret Pass, and Lisa Mackenzie.
My name is Nancy Lloyd. I have 4 topics to review this afternoon. 1, Judge Cooper, 2, DOH, 3, DOE, and 4, the Parents' Bill of Rights. First, Judge Cooper. His ruling is not final until the order is signed. He himself stated he expects his ruling will be appealed quickly. Judge Cooper has a history of being overturned on appeal, and we have confidence this appeal will also be successful. His ruling is not in effect until it is a written order. The fact that a special meeting was called in light of the judge's oral ruling speaks of a premature reaction. Second, DOH. The Florida Department of Health Emergency Rule 64-DER 2112 states that parents still have the option protected under this rule to opt out their children from wearing masks in school. They do not need a doctor's note or medical exemption. A school district is still in violation today of this DOH rule if they deny the parent exemption. You can't pick and choose which DOH rules you are going to follow. Third, DOE. The Florida Department of Education Emergency Rule, get my readers, 6AER21-01 is still in effect. The order directs that school districts comply with the Parents' Bill of Rights and protect parents' right to make decisions regarding masking of their children in relation to COVID-19. Parental rights include the right to make health care decisions for minor children. In order to ensure compliance with the law and state board rule, the State Board of Education has authority to withhold from school districts state funds, discretionary grant funds, discretionary lottery funds, or any other funds specified as eligible for this purpose by the legislature until the district comes into compliance. Fourth, the Parents' Bill of Rights. The intention of the Parents' Bill of Rights is very clear. Senator Ray Rodriguez and Representative Aaron Grell are the 2 legislators behind the state law. Rodriguez says that Judge Cooper's reading goes against legislative intent. We put all health care decisions in the hands of the parent, said Senator Ray Rodriguez, who sponsored the Parents' Bill of Rights. Now, one speaker earlier said, follow the law, buckle up, put your kids in a seatbelt and a car seat. Well, Parents' Bill of Rights is also the law.
Thank you.
Follow the law.
Your time is up.
Okay. Some parents make the choice to mask their children, but let every parent have the choice. And the bullying, the intimidation, and the discrimination that have already started against children without a mask, all of these need to stop now. Cooper's order is not even written yet. There are 2 state rules you must follow, DOH rule and Florida Department of Education emergency rule.
Ms. Lloyd,
and
your time is
last
up.
but not least, follow the law, the Parents' Bill of Rights. And I just want to thank you for loving our kids as much as we do.
Thank you. Greg Guter, are you still here? Greg Guter. Good afternoon.
Hi, my name is Greg Guti, and I'm from Lake Mary.
Excuse me.
And my wife and I had chosen to opt out of the mask, and that, leads to a couple questions. And probably the first question is, does that make us, irresponsible? Does that make us not care about the outcomes of our child? Absolutely not. In fact, most of us would be most willing to lose our life for our kids. So I can only speak really to my professional experiences. I've been in healthcare since I was 19, and I'm a young 52 right now. So it's been a long time, and I've played many roles. My first was a firefighter and medic, and in Indiana, we went through a similar problem with tuberculosis. So we had to go through a lot of training, and one of my responsibilities was to train all departments on the proper way to wear masks. We had to wear N95 masks. We had limitations on the time frame that you could wear a mask. We've heard people talk a little bit about fit testing. My job was to fit test everyone that was in that staff to make sure they understood the proper way to wear masks. So, as we look at different masks, I love my Stetson mask. It's a cloth mask. Studies have shown that this is about 9 to 10% effective. So if you think about that when we're breathing, exhaling, inhaling, only 9% of protection is from this mask. A surgical mask is slightly higher, between 12 and 13%, so it's a little better. But ultimately, the best mask to wear is an N95 mask. So these are really pretty ineffective for our children to be wearing. There's definitely other things that happen when you wear a mask for a long period of time, specifically over 4 hours. There is the potential for you to get an alkaline area on your face that actually increases your chance to get viruses and bacteria. So between that and the fact that most children are very active in touching their faces, I think that really warrants that these really don't help, and the marginal help that they do doesn't warrant a mandatory mask order. Additionally, I would rather see the school board find ways. I hear that we clean. You guys are cleaning very well, but when we think about going into in an ambulance, in a medical thing, you wash your hands before you go and touch a patient, you wash them when you come out, and the room is sanitized every time. Are we going to those efforts to help? Those have better outcomes than any mask would do. So I think money should be spent to look at those things instead of wasting our time with the masks. So I thank you. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Thank you. Margaret Pass. And Lisa Mackenzie and Dan Cooney. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Margaret Pass. I'm a Seminole County resident and business owner, and my grandchildren are Seminole County school children. Since everybody has been quoting the CDC back and forth, and it was quoted in the earlier presentation, I'd like to read a couple of things that the CDC has actually published. On May 28th, they explained that schools that require mask wearing had no benefit compared to schools that did not require their students to wear masks. The report also showed that schools that improved ventilation saw a 35 to 48% lessening of COVID-19 incidents, suggesting that there are opportunities for many schools to reduce the SARS-2 COVID disease transmission through improved ventilation. In July 28th, the CDC director, Rochelle Walensky, said, and I quote, "We don't have any evidence that the Delta variant makes kids sicker." And so recently they've turned around and they've backtracked on all of that information that they had originally put out or that they said. And so when we look to see why are they doing that, we can look to the teachers union, because they are really trying to influence the CDC to keep the mask mandates. The American Federation of Teachers, which represents about 1.7 million members across the country, told Newsweek that the labor union is awaiting COVID-19 vaccine authorization for kids under age 12 before mask requirements are lifted in school. For those people that are proponents of the mask mandate, if their faith is so strong in the fact that these masks actually work, why are they worried about the people that don't wear them? I suggest to you that maybe we need to consider the fact that some people just, you know, they're so passionate about community and about all of these things when it's in their favor. But when you look at the things that have been happening in our country over the last few months, and especially the last couple of weeks, I don't see that compassion too much. Thank you.
Lisa Mackenzie. Dan Cooney. And Anne Marie Russell.
Hello. First off, let's be clear. We're here today because a group of parents shopped for a judge and they found one in John Cooper, and they ruled in their favor. And that's why we're here, for no other reason. This is all politically driven. What I'm going to read to you is a editorial that came from the Forbes website, which is neither conservative nor liberal. This is an educator who contributed to this. And it's titled, "The School Mask Mandates Mean Trauma for Millions of Children, Especially Those from Low-Income Families." And I'm reading specifically from this column. The phrase I hear repeated over and over again to justify masks is, "Kids are resilient." What we should be saying is that masks and social distancing induce trauma, and trauma at a young age is developmentally dangerous, especially for children who are experiencing trauma in other parts of their lives. Every year of a child's life lays the foundation for their adulthood, and insecure foundations will crumble. Children in masks who are socially distanced are more likely to lead a sedentary lifestyle at school and home, and therefore are more likely to become both obese and depressed. Obesity disproportionately affects children from low-income backgrounds and can lead to lifelong health challenges that often result in early death. The prevalence of clinical depression and anxiety have already doubled for children globally since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, and will likely worsen with continued restrictions. Children in masks are also likely to miss out on critical language development, another fundamental area of growth in early years where children from low-income backgrounds already have disproportionate disadvantages. COVID-19 cases among children have increased due to the Delta variant, but according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, 0.00% through 0.03% of all COVID-19 cases resulted in death for children this past week, and this was published August 18th. Despite sensationalized clickbait news coverage, a child's current chance of death from COVID-19 in America is lower than their chance of dying from a lightning strike or a car accident. Do the benefits of the mask and social distancing truly outweigh the long-term physical, social, and academic harm we are inflicting on a whole generation of American children? Now, I would encourage all of you to read this editorial, but I can't, because days after it was published, they decided they were going to yank this from the internet. And it was only because of a website that archives these type of articles that it was saved for people to read and become informed. So you have to ask yourself, what is their agenda? Why are they doing this? Why are they taking out facts, healthy debate on things? Just because of a difference of opinion, they yank it, and they want it gone. So I implore every one of you, remove the politics, remove the hype, remove all the nonsense, stay with the facts, stay with the science. Know that these masks are dangerous for kids, period. They have no place in our schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anne Marie Russell, Scott Knight, and J.R. Santana. Good afternoon.
My name is Anne Marie Russell. I am a 2002 Lake Brantley graduate, and I have been a substitute teacher for SCPS since 2006. I have two children in Seminole County Public Schools. The school board, teachers union, and government push face masks, vaccines, and quarantines while refusing to discuss the science and data that opposes them. Over 99.5% of people survive this virus, and no children in Seminole County have died from it. Cloth masks are wishful thinking and a false sense of security. Have you heard of the Parents' Bill of Rights? There's a reason it's not called the School Board's Bill of Rights. There have been studies done that show masking our children all day does not stop the spread of COVID. One specific study comparing mask-mandated states with non-mask mandated states found that the infection rates were nearly the same. Masking children can cause mental and developmental health problems, as well as an increase in the likelihood of upper respiratory tract infections, according to a study done by researchers at the University of Louisville. The Florida Department of Health's emergency ruling states that the school must allow for the parent or legal guardian of the student to opt out the student from wearing a face covering or mask. And last I checked, that was still in effect. It conforms to the governor's executive order directing that any COVID mitigation actions must protect parents' rights to make decisions regarding the masking of their children. The collaboration between the CDC and the teachers' unions doesn't help our kids. It is totally political and with no consideration as to what is best for our children. The teachers' unions are morally corrupt and power-hungry. There are leaked emails between the CDC and the American Federation of Teachers that prove them to be in cahoots as thought partners and show that the teachers' unions heavily influenced what was in the CDC's school reopening guidance. Families should be included in decisions to ensure that education reforms aim to help children by putting their best interests first and foremost, not advance the union's political agenda. Teachers' unions have not been afraid to use political victories to their advantage, even in the middle of a pandemic. In 2020, the largest recipient of the teachers' union's donations was Joe Biden's presidential campaign, receiving nearly $261,000. Public schools exist solely for the proper factual education of our children and are funded through public taxation. They have no business playing partisan politics to the detriment of our kids that they are entrusted with. They have jumped on this pandemic and used it as a weapon to advance their agenda while holding our children hostage. This has done irreparable damage and continues to do so. I am a mom and I know what's best for my kids.
Scott Knight, J.R. Santana, and Mackenzie Clyde.
Hi, Scott Knight. I'm going to have to wing it because I actually came in with more questions than statements. But I want to start off by saying that there's been some real emotional times here. And the first one is when we all stood up in unity and pledged allegiance to our flag. And the other one that really touched me is the student that stood up here and talked, and she was in favor of a universal mask mandate. But what was so touching to me about that was not necessarily what she said, but the fear in her voice, the genuine fear that she has that now has been instilled into her. And I don't think that we need to instill the fear and timidness into our children. That's not what this country was built on. This country was not built on fear. Okay, so as far as for some of the questions, I know I can't get answers to these, but are we keeping track of how many students that have opted out of the mask? How many of those students have tested positive? I know we asked the doctor earlier, but I think she only answered the first part of it, which was if we could release the personal information, which obviously we can't with privacy. My question is, are we keeping track of the percentage of the students that have opted out that have tested positive since the beginning of the school year? And are we keeping track of the percentage of cumulative remaining students that do wear the mask, including faculty and staff? So if we're keeping percentage of those, what are those comparisons, how do those compare? Are they both at 10%? Is one higher than the other? Are we, that's the simple. I see a lot of complicated graphs and charts and studies. I believe in the KISS method. That's me. I'm just So the other things do you blame the 17% of the students that have opted out? Do you blame them for these increased numbers? What is our goal? What are we trying to achieve? Do we think we're going to be able to put this back into the bottle? You know, do you think that if you remove the opt-out clause, those students may feel blamed, shamed, or guilt? What type of lasting effect do you think that might have on those students? Would you take this possible effect into consideration in making your decision?
Your time is up. If you'd like to turn your questions into Ms. Moramis, she can have someone address them for you.
I'll get an email.
Thank you.
So basically, if I can just summarize with this, do we really want to instill fear and timidness into our country's future leaders? The current plan that is in place is the most accommodating and gives multiple choices that should meet or exceed every parent's comfort level without infringing on anyone's, and I mean anyone's, freedoms or rights.
Thank you. Are you JR?
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Hi. Hi, I am J.R. Santana, and I am a 6th grader in this district. I came today to share with you my experience with masks. I have a speech issue and a lisp. It is so much harder to fix it when I can't see my teacher's mouth. People have a hard time understanding me, and having a mask makes it even more difficult. It's like really frustrating. These masks don't work. They don't protect us at all. For example, my whole family got COVID in May. Even though we wore a mask, my dad got it the worst. He lost 30 pounds. My mom says she's mad. She's mad. She didn't get that part of it. My brothers and I had no symptoms, and we played in the pool basically the whole time. Masks don't work. They are uncomfortable, and they gave me mask knees. Me and my friends all hate them. Last year, me and all my friends complained about them all the time. It kind of got annoying. I do not forget about the special kids. My best friend's little brother could not go to school because he could not wear a mask all day. The last 20 days of school, I've had to remember what all my friends look like. I haven't seen them without a mask in what seems like forever. It is nice to see people smile again. I don't like that I still can't see my teacher smile. I still can't see their mouths when they speak though. I wanted to come today because right before school started, my mom joked with me and my little brother, and she said that she was gonna add, that you guys were gonna add masks, and I felt like crying.
Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Mackenzie Clyde. That was my amazing 12-year-old JR. I have 3 boys in the Seminole County public school system. I have 1 in high school, 1 in middle, and 1 in elementary school, so I cover all bases here. I wanted to point out I took notice of the new verbiage calling this universal masking rather than a mandate, which a mandate is just a nice word for dictate. So instead, now you're saying universal is a polite little socialist word still for dictate. Either way, it all means forcing someone to do something even though they don't need it or want it. Healthcare is not universal. Treatment is not universal. My children had COVID in May. We all did. And according to the NIH, in January 26, 2021, there is lasting immunity after COVID. Most recent studies cited by Bloomberg and Forbes show that immunity from a recovered patient is better than any immunity from the vaccine. So the only thing that my children are doing by wearing a mask against their will and the will of me, their parent, is a virtue signal. This I am not okay with. You are teaching them to follow the line. You are teaching them that they must be group thinkers. You are teaching them, you are stifling their own choices and teaching them that even as an adult, they won't have control over what they say in their children's bodies. This is not okay. It frustrates me when I look up and our superintendent hasn't been paying attention to anyone that doesn't have a mask on up here. So, lastly, your phone call said to me, in light of the judge's recent ruling, which is not actually a ruling just yet, which the attorney over there had also stated, not in light of rising cases among the children in our district, not in light of any of that, but in light of the judge's ruling. Do you know the number of children in our county under 18 years old with COVID? I know for a fact that it's not public knowledge because my senator friend tried to get that information for me today, and that is what he was told. And he is a Florida state senator, that it is now deemed confidential information. The last time that this was reported publicly was on June 4th, and at that time, from 0 to 24 years old, there was a total of 9,358 cases and 1 death in the last 20 months, from 0 to 24 years old. So I am only left to believe that you are calling this meeting to add masks, not for a concern for the children in this county, but from pressure from a teachers union, and to stick it to the governor and his executive order that barred you from dictating parents' medical choices for their children. Well, you aren't sticking it to the governor, you're sticking it to my children. And for that, I promise you that you will not have a seat up there again. So, if the judge rules that DeSantis does not have legal authority to block a mask mandate, then why do any of you have the legal right to mandate masks? Either there is a legal basis or there isn't. And if there isn't, then all mandates for or against would be illegal. Thank you.
Thank you. So Lisa Cavelli, I understand you're back in the room if you'd like to speak. Thank you. And just so you know, we just counted forms. We probably have another 3 hours of public input, so we'll be taking a brief recess in a few minutes.
Thank you very
Good
much.
afternoon.
I do appreciate that. I had to run to a doctor's appointment real quick.
Thank you.
The CDC has stated that mask wearing doesn't lower the infection rate. That is on their website. And that doctors from Johns Hopkins and Tufts Children's Hospital are calling it abusive to put masks on children. They also have stated that there is no science behind the mandates, that these can cause acne, anxiety, skin problems, self-esteem, and mental issues, which I have personally witnessed by either friends of mine or my own children. Children have a higher chance of dying from drowning, car accidents, homicide, cancer, cardiovascular disease, suffocation, and suicide, which is at an all-time high right now with our children. RSV, strep throat are also on a rise. They are saying that is, talking to an ER doctor that I know, that is from the mask wearing. To go back to a little bit more local reality, I sent you guys an email. I know I figured you had 1,000 emails to read, so I didn't expect you to read mine. But just to put it out there, I would rather my teachers be focused on teaching. My children have lost 18 months of teaching. Our FSA scores show it. My children who were very successful in school are not successful anymore, and it kills me. I have removed one child, and I'm paying $12,000 a year to educate her because she's in 8th grade. My high schooler will not move. We're pinning teachers against students, and I have a huge problem with that because the teachers are there to be our children's mom when we're not there. I want them to love my kid, not yell at my kid the whole time that he's not wearing a mask correctly. Our kids are around each other all the time without masks on. Football games, soccer games, basketball games, all the time. Driving to and from the cars, in the car, because my child drives carpool. They're around each other. Will they get it? They might. My kid in college got it from a friend who was a mask wearer and vaccinated. She got it, and 4 days later, they all got it. It happens. We had quick protocols. We took care of it. He's fine. I'm more concerned with the problems right now going in our high school. Most of the bathrooms are on lockdown. Why is that? Because of the destruction that's happening at Lake High School's bathrooms. People are destroying the bathrooms, taking toilets off the ground, smearing poop everywhere, doing drugs. My kid can't use the bathroom. He comes running home after school to use the bathroom because of what's happening in our bathrooms. He's afraid. He doesn't want to go in there because he doesn't know what he's going to walk into. Other parents have said that also. That is where my concern is. They can't go wash their hands like the CDC says to do. There's no place to, except maybe one bathroom clear across campus. That needs to be an issue we address, not the mask wearing, because that's actually causing more problems. Our kids are settled. They're happy. They're loving school. And I love that my high schooler can't wait to go. If you do this to them, you're uprooting them all over again. We've got to stop uprooting them. We've got to stop changing their life. They're not happy when we put masks on them. They're not happy being confined to these little areas. They just want to be kids.
Please
and
wrap
I
up.
want my kid to be a kid.
Please wrap up.
Okay.
You're done.
The last thing I want to say right now is ventilation is huge, like the CDC said. I can't imagine that our AC ducts and our ventilation is at top of the line. If that is going to be a mask going to be mandated, then we're really going to need to see some real reports of how our high schools are being ventilated to keep things clean and clear, because that is where we need to be focused also. So thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Please protect our children.
Stephanie Stallings, are you here? And I have an Allison on Fruitwood, but I don't have a last name. And Lisa Marie Arroyo. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hi, I'm Stephanie Stallings. I've lived in Seminole County for almost 2 decades now. I want to thank all of you all for your time. To the parents, thank you for coming. Seminole County Sheriffs, you all are amazing. I would like to say I am not anti-mask or anti-vaccine. I am pro-parent choice. There is a huge difference. I decide what is appropriate for myself and for my children. This is not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's up to the individual. But there is a compromise that allows those who choose to wear a mask to do so, and those who choose not to wear a mask to also do so. No matter which side of the fence you sit, the right for an individual to make a choice should not be impeded. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are unalienable rights endowed by our Creator, and this is the foundation of our country. The masks you are asking our children to wear offer very little protection, if any at all, against viruses. The COVID virus is simply too small to be contained by the masks. The size difference would be comparable to throwing a handful of sand against a chain link fence and expecting the fence to prevent it from going through. Bacteria are 50 times larger than virus particles. As such, virus particles can enter through mask pores, yet bacteria remain trapped inside the mask, resulting in the mask wearer continually exposed to bacteria. Dr. Fauci, we all know this name, and the National Institute of Health studied pandemics and epidemics, concluded the vast majority of influenza deaths resulted from secondary bacterial pneumonia. Journal of Infectious Diseases, Volume 198, Issue 7, October 1st, 2008. This data has been around for years. This is not a new invention. Years. Studies also show that long-term surgical mask wearing affects blood oxygen levels, which of course affects concentration. Doesn't this sound like a good idea for our children? Concentration. Very important. Is the school board willing to accept liability and responsibility for the negative health impacts related to long-term wearing of masks? I don't expect an answer. Due to the possible detrimental health effects from wearing a mask, the decision to wear or not to wear should rest solely on the individual parents of the children. The school board, the government, and including our employers, should not be dictating any policy that restricts our individual rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Once again, individual liberties aside, the topic that is not brought up as often and should be is the social and emotional impact that masking has, not just on our children, but on everyone. ADHD, anxiety, suicide rates, all on the rise.
Please wrap up. Your time is up.
Okay. Ask yourself why. Furthermore, the mandatory mouth-closing masks in school is a main threat to a child's development. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up and skip. I have other data here that we can go along. I think everyone here has done a wonderful job of quoting laws, both sides of the fence when it comes to rights, wrongs, etc. But I will conclude with this. I would like to remind the board that the school district has a clear no bullying policy in Seminole County. However, putting a mask mandate in place is overstepping your authority and clearly a bullying tactic. I will not allow you to bully my parental rights or my civil liberties or my child's.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So is Allison here? Okay. Lisa Marie Arroyo. And then Andrew Palmisano. Good afternoon.
Hi, my name is Lisa Marie Arroyo. I'm a Seminole County resident. I am here advocating for my two very healthy, happy, well-nutritioned, active children with strong immune systems. We are very happy that Seminole County Public School continues to give us, the parents and students, the choice to opt out of mask. We implore that choice remains in our school system. My children's mental health is just as important as their physical health. And for them, being at school, socializing with their friends, gives them a very positive outlook in life. We choose not to live in fear. We choose to see our friends, to play with our friends, to play extracurricular sports with our friends, hugging, eating, and laughing with our friends. Whether they're masked or not, vaccinated or not, we will continue to do so. Please, please, I just ask that you do not take their rights away, their choice to be mask-free at school. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. So Andrew, are you still here? And then Larry Metter, and I think I saw that he left, and Gail Hughes.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Madam Chairman, members. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Andrew Palmisano. I live with my wife Ginger, my 3 children in the Forest Lake area of Seminole County. And it's been an interesting 5.5 hours. A lot of politics, history, science, social studies, statistics, comedy, tragedy. Everything was covered here today. A lot of big issues regarding politicians in the state and the federal government and such things. I'm here to speak on behalf of my 7-year-old daughter Annalise. She goes to Bear Lake Elementary, and we love her school. She has autism, so she has a difficult time learning. Remote learning and the masking that she's gone through already have been detrimental to her education. I know we haven't, or for those who don't have a child with autism or disabilities, things called IEPs, or educational plans, that are created by the team, including the parents, the experts in the school, the teachers, administrators, etc., including doctors and therapists outside the school. Everybody creates this plan to help the child get educated. Now, the good news for Annalise is she is sort of in a golden spot for a kid with disabilities in a school. Everything's in place. She's learning. She's making advances. She has a real chance of getting up to grade level and reaching a point where she's no longer in need of these services. But the mask policy and the remote learning set her back. Now, I've been working with kids with disabilities for 21 years. So I could see this goal, this achievement is achievable. I've taken the data during the times where she was set back by the remote learning and by the masking policies. So it's quantifiable that she will be injured by implementing this. I've also heard that most students are wearing masks. Some are exempted. She needs to continue her development and education. The pandemic set her back. The policies of the pandemic set her back. But we're in a good place. We can make advancements. She learns in areas like communication. She's learning about communication. Most communication, 90% plus, is nonverbal. She needs to see facial expressions. When she doesn't see facial expressions, the learning is less effective. She has setbacks. Social skills, the same way. She needs to learn through communicating with people and interacting with people. The mask is a barrier.
Please wrap up your time.
In conclusion, I know she has federal protections under her IEP. We could always go to due process, see a judge. We know you're waiting on a judge's judgment, waiting on the governor's judgment, the president's judgment, all of these people. But you're the Board of Education for Seminole County. You're the reason we live here, because it's such a great school system. Serve to educate my Annalise. Please make the right decision. Don't let her down.
Thank you. Gail Hughes and Kelly Hendricks and Alex Babcock. Good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Gail Hughes, a resident of Altamont Springs, a current grandparent of a first grader and a preschooler in Seminole County, a former Seminole County Public School employee who worked as a school psychologist and counselor since 1998 until retirement a few years ago. My educational, professional, and personal experiences all compel me to advocate for parental rights regarding their children's health, well-being, emotional, and social development, including decisions about wearing masks. My husband and I have already been approved as dividends, but are currently curtailed to help out at our grandson's school. We can, however, volunteer at the private preschool that our younger grandson attends, as we did last school year. Our public school children are being deprived of so many activities that involve the public being on campus to provide wonderful experiences and opportunities with them. After-school activities such as skating events have already been canceled. Parents should be the sole decision makers of their children's activities and well-being, whether it be in school or after-school activities. I strongly urge this school board to continue the parental opt-out for their own children to not wear masks in school. It should also be the same policy for teachers and all school employees, their choice. Research does not support the benefits of masks, which makes the issue of masks even more crucial and nebulous. Dr. Atlas reviewed the mask policies last night on TV and confirmed that masks have no positive impact on reducing COVID-19 cases. Please use rational thinking and actual factual information in making decisions that affect our community. Thank you.
Here. Kelly Hendricks. Alex Babcock. Good afternoon.
Everybody okay? Great. I know with the mask it can be challenging. I know you guys have a tough job. I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate you calling this meeting. I have 2 kids in Seminole County Public Schools. I went through Seminole County Public Schools myself. It's been a little while. I'm proud to have been a part of a good school system. I'm proud that my kids are in a good school system. I know you have a tough job here. You've listened to a lot of very passionate people. I'm a passionate guy myself. I'm going to try and keep it calm. But, we're talking about our kids. This matters. Everybody's got their own reasons for being here. I'm decidedly in the minority. I understand the Constitution. I swore to uphold and defend when I joined the Army, but I'm not a constitutional scholar. I'm also not a scientist. I'm not an expert on this stuff. But we hire people who devote their lives to becoming experts on things like this. And we have big decisions that have huge ramifications. I have a tendency to ramble, so I'm going to try and keep it tight. This is my 5-year-old. My 5-year-old son, he doesn't have a choice. He doesn't get to decide whether he wears a mask or not because he doesn't understand them. It's not that he understands it but doesn't like it. He does not know what a mask is for. He has autism. I've had folks here talk about kids with autism that have said, I think we should have masks. We've had people who have kids with autism that say, I don't think we should have masks. Well, I'm going to explain why Levi here, my 5-year-old, needs everybody to have a mask. And that's just me. That's just me. I understand everybody's got their own thing. But Levi can't wear a mask because he doesn't understand it, and he rips it off. He can't wear hearing aids even though he has a hearing defect because he doesn't understand it. He can't wear glasses even though his eyes don't work very well because he doesn't understand it. Now we understand. We understand. But he doesn't. And there's nothing he can do about it. He doesn't have the choice because he's not there yet. But when he was in the school system, when he had this picture taken, this picture of him in school, he was learning. He was improving. And week after week, month after month, we could see that he was improving. And it was because of teachers in this school system. But he needs everybody to come together and help him. The teachers did that every day. All of the school staff did that every day before this pandemic screwed that up. Nobody here likes masks. I don't like masks. But I know that they give him a chance to learn something, or maybe someday he'll be able to talk. Maybe someday he'll understand what a mask is for, what his hearing aids are for, or what his glasses are for. Because he can't, and because there's so many people who can understand what a mask can do, that can just put it on. Just put on an ounce of mask, whatever. I know it can be tough. It's tough for me. I don't like wearing it.
It's your time,
But
Mr.
if it
Babcock.
keeps, all right, I'll wrap it up. But if it keeps somebody like him in school, it's worth it to me. And I'll fight for that. And I really appreciate you guys listening to what we all have to say. And I listened to every word these folks said. You got a tough decision to make. But when you see a guy like this, and you think he could be in school right now, learning how to live life, how to
you.
be a part of this great society. It should make it easier.
Thank you. So J.P. Pinheiro, Linda Trocine, Alicia Diaz, and Ann Lightfoot. Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, J.P. Pinheiro. Thank you for giving us ample time to speak to you guys. I've sent you guys emails. I've gotten some responses. I don't want to reiterate a bunch of things that have been said today, but I wanted to touch base on a couple things. We saw the presentation from the folks this morning, and there's a thing about statistics that we see a lot to be used to fit a certain narrative, such thing as relative risk versus absolute risk. And just as an example, they're comparing a group of people, let's just say 1 out of 10,000 in this group, let's say, got COVID and they were wearing a mask, versus 10 out of 10,000 in this group got COVID and they weren't wearing the masks. And they'll take those values and say, oh my God, masks are 10 times more effective at keeping people from getting COVID because there's 10 less kids with COVID in this group. This is just hypothetical numbers, right? I didn't get all their numbers. But when you look at absolute risk, it's just one is 0.01% versus 0.1%. So it's still nothing, right? Minimal. But relative risk, absolute risk. So keep that in mind when you read the graphs and their comparison. Oh, 36 times more effective, blah, blah, blah. That's relative risk and not really absolute risk. And we heard a lot about rules today here. We still have, and it's been mentioned before, the Department of Health rule, which states that, you guys must allow for a parent or legal guardian of the student to opt out of the student from wearing a mask or a face covering. So this is still in place. So I don't know if you can pick and choose which rules to follow, but that rule is still in place from the Department of Health, regardless of what any judge said. And with respect to that executive order, if I recall from my understanding, I'm not a legal scholar, but from what I've read, is that it was mainly due to the fact of the withholding of salaries of school board members and not of the actual opt-out for parents. And many other counties that have gone down the path of attempting to make mask mandates have had their legal team advise them, hey, you're breaking the law going in this direction. So just FYI. And on masks, I've been here many times, and we've looked at numbers from counties versus other counties, schools versus other schools, mask mandates versus not. It doesn't work. The COVID virus, the scientific community have said that it's aerosolized. So cloth masks, surgical masks, they do nothing. They do nothing for aerosolized particles. Unless you had every single person with a fitted N95, N100 fitted mask, you might have some effect, right? But that's just not plausible. We can't expect everybody. You got to be fitted. You got to have a certain health condition to be able to wear a fitted N95 mask. You can't just put it on the entire population. So mask mandate policies really are not going to work. They haven't worked. What's the definition of insanity, right? Why are we trying it again?
Your time is up, please.
Thank you very much, but please continue to give parents a choice. We know what's best for our kids. We know you want what's best for our kids, but let us continue to have this choice, to keep masks on or masks off, but it should be our choice. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alicia Diaz, Ann Lightfoot, and Christina Maddock.
Good afternoon. My name is Alicia Diaz. I can stand in front of you all and I can tell you about my son who has Tourette syndrome and how the mask affected him. I can talk about my other son who has eczema and what the mask did to his face. But at the end of the day, nobody cares. Nobody cares. However, the Biden administration 2 weeks ago announced that every school district in Florida that denounced Ron DeSantis, I'm sorry, I'm shaking, that denounced Ron DeSantis on the mandate of masks. Whoever defied it will get some financial benefits. I don't know if this is why all these board meetings are occurring certain hours that we all know parents are working. But if this is about money and not about the health of our children, I'm going to just say this. Everything that we do comes back to us one way or another. Every single thing that we do. You can actually even use Biden as an example. He created a crime bill that affected people in my community. I'm not from Florida. And because of that, he had to live to see his son commit the same crimes he arrested thousands of people for. After failed attempts of trying to become president, he finally becomes president. He doesn't even know he's president most of the time. Doesn't even know he's president. What you guys decide to do is going to affect innocent children. And if this is for financial gain or whatever it's for, it'll come back. Because everything that we do comes back to us. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Ann, thank you.
Hi, I'm Anne Marie Lightfoot. I have 4 children in the school system, 1 in high school, 1 in middle school, and 2 in elementary school. And I don't even know how to explain how the mask wearing has messed with their minds. Like, great, thank God I was able to send them to school last year, and yes, with a mask, but mentally, it messed with them. Like, coming home and trying to figure out how they need to proceed now. Do I take off my mask at home? Do I not take off my mask at home? In public, do we wear it? Do we not wear it? You know, when I'm playing sports, am I supposed to wear it? Because all 4 of my children play sports. And I have my twins that are in elementary school. They both are in speech. They both, especially the youngest one, when you speak to him, if you cannot directly speak with him, you can't understand him clearly. Like, I am constantly redirecting, saying, I really don't understand you. I definitely can't understand him if he's wearing a mask. So I don't want to keep forcing this on something, because it's a daily fight to, do you have your mask? Like last year, trying to get on a school bus, trying to fight, they didn't have their mask. The bus driver's like, I'm going to dock you, and 3 times you're off the bus for the rest of the year. I'm like, what? That's crazy. Why are we doing that? They're 7 or 6 last year. Then I have my high schooler, who I think is really probably getting the brunt of this, because she doesn't know if she's trying to fit in or not trying to fit in. She's trying to understand, political stuff, which, because she's going to vote in the next election, you're trying to guide her to learn to make her own decisions and to not just listen to mommy or daddy or what each side is. And so she has opted to wear a mask in school, which I'm okay with, because that's her personal decision at 15. But she's doing it as a political show more than anything, because she doesn't want to be bullied at school. And this is Lyman High School, which is a great high school, great education. Like, she's learning a lot, but I don't know how to guide her in the right direction if all she's hearing is fighting and battling, because we can't even agree if our children should wear a mask or not, and let the parents decide for them. And I've opted all my children out of the option, but from there, ultimately, I gave it to their decision, and they all have them in case if they want them, because I feel that they should also have a decision in it too. Thank you.
Thank you. Christina. Then Patricia Boyce. And Kristen, I think it's Bruno. Afternoon.
Hi, my name is Christina Maddock. I have 3 children in the Seminole County Public School System. I am not okay with my children wearing masks for 6 to 8 hours a day. I understand that there are parents who are terrified of COVID-19 and feel strongly about their children's health and safety. Don't we all? I'm not here to say they cannot act on their convictions. However, I am here because they wish to force me to abdicate my convictions and force my children to wear masks to school. This issue is rife with strong feelings and opinions. So we turn to science for objectivity, but even here, consensus does not exist. For every study you bring showing masks work, I can bring up a study showing that masks do not. Both sides can lay claim to highly reputable authorities to bolster our arguments. To demonstrate, I've provided the school board with a collection of studies from the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons. It's in the purple folder. I didn't think I'd have a chance to talk. It outlines the findings of multiple studies on the efficacy of mask wearing. They show that N95 masks, tightly fitted and worn for short durations, provides the best results for controlling viral spread. How many here are sending their children to school in tightly fitted N95 masks their kids never touch? How many are only wearing them for short durations? 6 to 8 hours isn't short. Instead, we are sending our kids with little pieces of cloth strapped to their face. This particular one says, face mask for everyday use, not a medical device, not suitable for use by children, makes no claims of antiviral protection, prevention, or reduction. While great at hiding beautiful smiles, this cloth does